it's just it's a way of doing business. It's the way I've always done business, is to be an equity guy.
When you came in and bought the team, did sort of the Boston media and the Celtic faithful, did they sort of look at you with doubt, saying, you know, here's this venture capital guy? You know, a lot of people throw everybody that's ever worked in venture capital or private equity into the Wall Street mantra and say, what does he know about basketball?
Well, that would have been fair, very fair, and they probably still say that, and they can. But I've got this ring, so that helps. I'll tell you, it was, nobody was more doubtful, really, of how it would go than we were and than I was. I wanted to get it right. My partners and I worked morning, noon, and night trying to get it right, trying to assess the coaching staff, the resources we were giving to basketball, the way we were selling tickets and sponsorships, because if we could find more money over there, we could give more to basketball. And that virtuous cycle worked, and it worked well. And with Danny and Doc in here and the fans in this building, we've had some great teams.
You really didn't have a lot of time, though. I mean, you sort of came and the season was already running when you took control. So how did you so quickly, you know, figure out what the model was here and you know?
We didn't. I don't think we figured it out right away. I mean, we had some up and down years. We had a year where we lost 17 or 18 games in a row. My wife, to her great credit, said, if that's as bad as it can get, that's okay. We made it through that. You know, the next year, we won the championship. You know, so, I mean, there are ups and downs in the business. You're not going to win every year. At least we're not going to win. We've proven that. But we love this team. We love this town. It's a great place to own a team. And the NBA is a league that's set up for success in the U.S., internationally, local TV, national TV. Our players are superstars in this league. I'm really happy to be part of the NBA.
What has surprised you the most about being the owner of this team?
That it really doesn't, even 10 years in, it doesn't really let up. We won a game last night, and I'm abuzz about it. I barely slept. When we lose games, I barely sleep because I like toss and turn and worry about them. That's 10 years in. I expected that the first few years, but it hasn't calmed down that much. It's something I've asked for. It can be a real grind. It's a grind for the players. It's a grind for the coaches. But you'd sure miss it if you ever left.
Do you feel it hard sometimes to separate the fan from the owner? You know, I'm thinking about
there's no
you guys,
separation.
There's no separation.
If you're not a fan, you shouldn't be an owner. Now you can be in it, and you know they can be great investments. This has been a very good investment for us. Knock on wood. I mean, it's just been fantastic investment. That's not why we did it. It's worked that way because we are fans and we put it all into the team, and then you know it goes well. And the TV rights have gone up, you know, which nobody necessarily expected, and that's made it a fantastic investment. But you know, you really should be a fan, or you shouldn't be an owner.
How important is the new collective bargaining agreement to this league?
Well, I really like it. It's a partnership with the players. We're splitting things. We're in it together. It's for multi-years, and we can grow together. We're going to hit $5 billion of revenue in this league this year. I think it was 2-something when we came in 10 years ago. We're up to $5 billion now. And they get their half of that, and good for them because they deserve it.
I got an email from Mark Cuban before the CBA was
he sends
settled.
A few of those.
Yeah,
I get about 5 a day from
him. And we were working on the NBA valuations for Forbes, and he said, you know what? He said, if this agreement comes through, he said, in the way that I think it will, there'll be no NBA team worth less than $350 million. And I was a little skeptical, but then you look at some of the small revenue, smaller market teams like the Hornets, for example, and the Grizzlies, and they've sold for about $335 to $350 million. And I'm thinking, well, and you look at the Lakers' new TV deal.
My 360 doesn't look that bad for the Celtics back then, right?
All of a sudden, 360 compared to the Paul Gaston, the previous owner, paid, I believe, $18 million 19 years before you bought the team. What do you think the CBA does for team values, given the salary cap, the economic stability of what expenses are going to be, and coupled with the growth in revenues?
It's a partnership with the players, so that's the first good thing. If we continue growing, there's enough revenue around to get just about every team profitable, especially with revenue sharing, which I had something to do with the chairman of that committee. Our planning committee came up with revenue sharing at the exact same time that we got the CBA. We were talking amongst ourselves about revenue sharing among the teams, and we greatly expanded that. I think every team in this league is going to be in the black in the very next few years. And certainly when we renew, not certainly, but hopefully at least when we renew our national TV deal in a few years, if not before. And when every team is profitable, We're more like a smaller version of the NFL. Nobody needs to sell, and those values ought to keep going up. And the players' paychecks, which they deserve, ought to keep going up.
How cantankerous were those revenue sharing meetings among the owners? Because you have so many different situations, you know, people that own their buildings, big market, right, small market.
They were, well, cantankerous. That would have been an improvement. No, it was vigorous. It was people saying, I'd like it to be this way, and other people saying, I'd like it to be another way. And it went on, and we, you know, to everybody's credit, we settled it, and we settled it fairly, and it enabled the CBA to be signed, and it enabled us now to move forward. I'm really happy with it.
My understanding is that for last season, revenue sharing was increased significantly to roughly $120 million. Without that, would you have been able to get the new CBA?
Well, I think it was hand in hand. I mean, people wanted to know, every team that voted for the CBA wanted to know where they would probably stand for the next few years under that deal, and the revenue sharing is a big part of that. And we have teams in this league, generously, I would say is the word, you know, writing large revenue sharing checks. Ours are double digits, and some are much larger than ours. So we're writing $13, $15, $17 million checks from Boston to our partner teams, and others are doing more. So that's on the giving side. On the receiving side, you know, they deserve it, and they're getting it. And once people get to break even and profitability, then it sort of goes away. So that's the plan that we worked out with revenue sharing. It seemed fair enough to everybody.
Do you think that that helped you, the fact that the Celtics are a big payer into this system, to be able to take the lead in that and say, look, you know, by putting in a little bit more, we're doing it, so maybe if you do it,
right,
it's overall good for the league.
I didn't start the sharing alphabetically at C. You know, we included Boston in the Bs. Yeah, we paid in. I don't know. I think it just took, we have a very good relationship among the owners and commissioner and new commissioner to come, Adam Silver. We're all on the same page in those meetings generally. We can disagree about items, but the general idea is grow the league and help your partners when they need it, and let's keep going forward, and that's what we're doing.
What about the NBA internationally? I know you guys played some games in Milan during the off season. How much potential do you think there is for the NBA outside of the United States?
It's a great sport internationally. Basketball and soccer are the two really worldwide sports, and we sort of control the best basketball in the world. Unlike soccer, which is kind of split up into fiefdoms, the NBA really, you know, is the place to go for basketball. We were in Istanbul, we were in Milan. The stands were full of green. They took the Heat to China recently. You know, everybody's wearing a Heat jersey. It's a great opportunity for us. We are very profitable internationally now as a league. That trickles to every team, but I expect it to double and triple in the future.
Is that mostly from TV rights?
Mostly from TV rights, yep. And we put on events over there, and there's a venture called NBA China that has all of our China rights, and that's gone very well. Cash positive, you know, making money. I mean, things are pretty great.
Do you think we're going to see even more players from outside the United States come in and play in the NBA, given, you know, how the brand transcends overseas?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. And, you know, Yao, as an example, coming over from China was fantastic. And Jeremy Lin from Taiwan, you know, fantastic excitement about him last year. It'd be great. It'd be great for us. Dirk Nowitzki from Germany, one of the best players in our league, and so many others. I like the international aspect of basketball. I think it's fantastic.
Where do you think the upside in terms of revenue growth is for the Celtics over the next few years? What areas?
Well, our new TV partnership or broadcast partnership, cable partnership, is really where we'll grow the most, we expect. We think new national deals will come in the next few years as well. So it's really the media rights of the team or where sort of the growth can probably be. Our ticket prices are what they are. We don't really want to ask fans to pay too much more than that. They're very appreciative that they come and pack the place every game, and we want to keep that going. So I think the real growth will probably be in the media rights.
What has been your most pleasant surprise as the owner of the Celtics?
Well, there have been many. I mean, a lot of the things are actually off the court. And these days, the things we do with the charities, it sounds like a commercial. It really isn't. It's the way it is. Wins and losses are one thing, and they're still important. But the things we can do with this team, visiting kids in hospitals, which we just did for Christmas, and opening a new computer center at a school in an inner city neighborhood. I mean, that stuff sticks with you, probably more than a win or loss. I'd probably start with that. I'd also say, though, coming back and winning the finals after seeing Paul Pierce wheeled off in a wheelchair in the first game, and I thought, well, so much for that, you know, and then we come back and beat the Lakers by 39 points and win the banner. That was a pretty nice surprise.
Are you concerned at all that the new CABA could hurt a team like the Celtics? I mean, because as one of the higher spending teams, you came in, you know, with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and so forth. Big contracts brought you a championship. But that seems like it'd be harder to do now under the new CBA.
It is. We can't be afraid of competition, though. I mean, I'm not afraid of competition. I competed as a college athlete, competing now sort of for a living. This is what I do. We've had a more level playing field in the new CBA. We think that's fine. It's good for the league. It's going to be good for ratings and revenues and all that. And we'll just match up. We don't want to just hit people with our wallets. Glad to just match up with them. Sort of with good luck and intellect, trying to think about things and scout a little better, and you know, we're fine. That's how we'll compete.
Your dad was a founder of a very successful cable company.
Yes.
Did his insight in terms of the cable business and the potential of cable and its impact on sports and the economics of sports, is that something that gave you some insight as to the potential of what rights fees and so forth could be for a basketball team?
Well, he was instrumental just in this recent Comcast deal, advising all the way along. But to be honest, back in '02, when we thought of doing this deal, and the two of us talked about buying the Celtics, it was really that we are just sports nuts, and we're Boston sports nuts. And this was the chance to own a Boston team, to own the Celtics of all teams, you know, the amazing Celtics. The conversation was, can we possibly do this? Let's go do this. It was not a media rights conversation. Those have become more important recently, and he's been instrumental in helping me think that through.
How did he help you with the new cable deal?
Well, just we went over everything A to Z, also with Steve Paliuca and Bob Epstein, our other two managing partners. There are four of us. We hashed over every word of that thing and pushed back where we needed to push back, and you know, got the deal done. It was I don't know, it was close to an 18-month discussion, and it worked out great.
Does that make for some interesting Thanksgiving conversation?
Well,
with
it's
you
great.
and your dad?
It's great to have a reason to talk to your father. My father lives in California. My mom and dad live out at Stanford, near Stanford University, and it gives me a reason to talk to him and work with him. It's fantastic. He's 78 years old now, and he keeps a tougher schedule than I do. So you know, he's going strong, but we're on the phone quite a bit.
There was some talk a few years ago before you extended your lease at this building that you may consider, the Celtics may consider, getting their own building. Was that ever potentially a reality, or were you always going to stay here?
Well, we've agreed to stay here now through the, you know, for many years. Right. And so you definitely look at options when you need to, and we did look at options when we needed to. We made the choice to stay here with a new partnership with the Jacobs family, Bruins, Delaware North, and we're very happy with that.
And I believe there were some upgrades that came along with that lease extension
Yes.
to the building.
Yes.
Were those upgrades things that you specified and that you thought would be beneficial to the Celtics in terms of revenue?
Right, but it was a collaboration. There are new clubs, there's a new scoreboard, and you have to replace those every 8 or 9 years. But you know, that one, very, very nice, and probably got a few years left. New signage, digital signage, better sound system, so you can hear the music, which I love. I'm a sort of a bit of a musician, not much, but rock and roll drummer. So I like to hear this stuff. But everything's been upgraded, and we're planning to do it all again. As a matter of fact, we're talking about that together with them about doing it all again. So it's not just the Celtics; it's the Bruins and the Celtics agreeing to do things together.
And where do you think the Celtics are right now, as a team and as a business?
Well, as a team, right this minute. Nearing the end probably of a pretty historic run that started in '07, putting the big three together, 2 trips to the finals, a trip to the conference finals last year, and a nice winning streak now. So I actually think, you know, we have a chance this year. You know, we could, in fact, win the whole thing again. I love it. Eventually, we'll transition to a new big three, whoever it is. You know, maybe it's Rondo plus 2 more, and move forward in the Celtic tradition. As a business, we feel very lucky. Lucky to be here, lucky to be in it, glad that the 10 years have gone well. It feels pretty solid and stable now. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm really excited to be part of the NBA. I think we've got a bright future.
Wyc, now that you've obviously proven the doubters who said that it would be hard to justify a $360 million purchase price for the Celtics, you've proven them wrong. I'm wondering, are you getting a lot of interest from people who want to be an investor in the Celtics?
Yes, we've got a waiting list of people who want to come into our ownership group, but we don't have anybody who wants to sell anything. We're very glad about that. We have inquiries from time to time. The team's not for sale. But yeah, and I would expect any team like the Celtics, it's, a storied franchise. I mean, people always want to be involved with these things.
With multiple owners, I imagine there are bound to be differences of opinion, and since they're all very successful in outside businesses, strong differences of opinion. Where are those differences generally? In what areas?
Well, we all agree that we've got a really good management team working the business morning, noon, and night. So if we're going to disagree about anything or have opinions about anything, it's going to be on basketball. And everybody can be right about basketball because you never really know if that kid out of college, you don't know for years if the kid out of college is actually going to be the one you should draft or not. Luckily, we have Danny, and we all realize that Danny and Doc together, we can talk, but they're going to, play leadership roles over there. But the fun of it is being able to disagree about basketball. The fun of it is being able to have something to talk about other than business, and that's it's really one of the great parts about being in this ownership.
Who really wanted to bring Danny Ainge here to run the basketball side of things? Was it a group effort, or was it something that just
great question.
A couple of people wanted?
Steve Paliuca, my partner, knew Danny from a charitable board that he'd been on. And we thought of Danny. Red Auerbach made a short list, and Danny was on it. And Steve knew him and really recommended Danny. And so my dad and I both interviewed Danny, and we hired him.
What were your feelings following the interview?
This guy is so confident and so knowledgeable and so energetic and has a Celtic tradition. But wouldn't it be fun? He will work with us as a partner. He is not somebody who says, well, I'm going to do this and you're going to do that. He says, no. You guys as owners make the final say on big decisions of budget and on trading starters, trading all-star players or whatever. We have to be involved in signing off on that stuff. And he realizes that. That's the way these things are. He welcomes that. He's a partner by nature, Danny, and he's been a great guy to work with.
Wyc, what brought you to Boston?
Well, my wife and I had our second son, Campbell, our second child, Campbell, in '92, and he was born blind. And we looked around, and within 2 years, we realized that Perkins School for the Blind here in Watertown is the leading school for the blind in the world, and starts at age 2, educating toddlers in an early preschool. And we just wanted Campbell here. And so we came back to where I was born and raised and rebuilt our lives here in Boston for Campbell. And he's now 20, and he's doing great and hoping to go to a college program eventually. And it's really had it's been a hard ride for him. It has not been easy, but he's done great with it, and we're very appreciative of what Perkins and other people have done for him back here.
How is he doing now?
He's doing very, very well. He's very, very happy. He's very, very engaged in the world. He's got some issues with schoolwork that he's trying to work through. He gets better every year, and the future is bright for him.